Good morning, everybody. My name is Ruben van Achter, and I am the Business Development Manager program for Veeam and VMware at TD SYNNEX Benelux. Welcome at our Veeam or last Veeam Partner Academy of this year. This time, my colleague Jerry is going to give you a presentation about Veeam backup for Microsoft 365. Followed by Proofpoint Essentials brought to you by Bart van Moorsel, another colleague of mine. So yeah, we're trying to present or offer you a powerful blend of Microsoft 365 protection and recovery. As always, if you would have any questions during the presentation, yeah, feel free to unmute yourself or pose your questions in the chat box. Or you can wait until the end of each part of the presentation where we provide some time for a Q&A. Yeah, without further ado, let's start off with the first part of our webinar, and that is presented by Jerry. So Jerry, whenever you're ready, you can start with your presentation.
Thank you, Ruben. Welcome everyone to this Veeam and Proofpoint Partner Academy. Like Ruben told, I'm Van Bertieri. I'm a pre-sales for Veeam and VMware at TD SYNNEX, we have to say now. So welcome. Yeah, backup for Microsoft 365. Just the first slide, just some marketing, but we all know that Microsoft Azure and Microsoft 365 business is a huge opportunity and still growing. So people are still leaving on-premise mail and collaboration tools for the SaaS versions of Microsoft. And, we all know it's a SaaS. Most think yeah, Microsoft is taking care of it.
Jerry, I think there is something with your microphone.
You don't hear me?
Or... Yeah, now it's better.
Okay. Sorry. In my little one box collaboration offices, it continues to work. So most people think that yeah, Microsoft is taking care of yeah. Backup and yeah, uptime of their Microsoft 365.
We still have the same issue.
Okay. It's
sometimes good if you talk. Yeah, now it's okay.
Okay. No, I didn't change anything.
Okay.
So the misunderstanding is that Microsoft is taking care also of the uptime and the yeah, data protection of Microsoft 365. That's not really true. The responsibility of Microsoft concerning Microsoft 365 is mainly keeping their services up, but the data is yours. So the responsibility of protecting the data is your responsibility as a customer. So that's the first reason why we would be needing a backup or a data protection solution for Microsoft 365. But there are other reasons too. It's software, but it's still users who work with the software. So mistakes will happen. And one of those first mistakes is accidental deletion. So people will delete some stuff and afterwards think, my fault, I still need that data. And another thing that a little bit goes together is the retention policy from within the software. Okay, you as a customer can change the policies, but the most used default policies. And what we notice also is that people delete things or move things, and then when they realize they made a mistake, it's already beyond the retention policies. Yes, if you delete something, it goes to your recycle bin, but also there is a policy on it that determines that there will eventually be a hard delete. The data will go away. And a lot of the times we see that people delete things and then only realize they still needed it when the retention policy already deleted it from the recycle bin, for instance, like that. So there are, of course, and I think Proofpoint can give more solutions to that, security threats, internal and external security threats. Internal, it's not because it's an employee that you just simply have to trust him. There can be malicious internals into your company who, just because they just got fired and still have to stay until the end of their term, or just because they are malicious people. And there are external security threats. We all know in Belgium in the last 2 weeks that there is ransomware. If you think to the cities who got attacked and with ransomware, and even a police zone here in Belgium. So yes, we need some protection there of our data against ransomware and rogue apps and or whatever the threat is that malicious people and attackers will invent. Of course, there are some, depending on the company or the end user's company, there are some legal and compliance requirements. Some companies, some sectors have to keep their data for 5 years, 10 years for some compliance rules and legal stuff. So also there, Veeam Backup can give you an ease of mind and a solution to keep that compliancy. A nice thing about Veeam Backup for Microsoft 365 is you can manage hybrid environments. So if you still have a local Exchange server or a SharePoint, you can also backup those installations with Veeam Backup for Microsoft 365. You don't especially need Veeam Backup and a replication for that. You can do it also with Microsoft 365 or Veeam Backup for Microsoft 365. And the nice thing is with Veeam that you have data portability. You have it also with other products, backup products of Veeam. But the nice thing is you have data portability. So you can backup an on-premise and restore it to an online Microsoft 365 environment, or vice versa. So there are quite a few restore possibilities within the product. I think there is a slide on it where we have a small overview, but at this moment, I think for restoring, we have 45 possibilities, I think, overall the components of Microsoft 365. And of course, a reason why is we already could backup the data of Teams with Veeam Backup, but now with the latest version we're on, version 6, we can also backup the data structure of Microsoft Teams, which is quite important. A small survey done in 2020 by an external company to Veeam, but it gives you an idea of what the admins of the environments think and view as a primary reason for protecting your data within Microsoft 365. And we all see that it's not an infrastructure thing, but it's always some user mishaps or attackers. So security reasons, additional deletion of data, cyber attacks, and so on. And still, it's a huge opportunity, market opportunity. Not only the subscriptions of Microsoft 365 are growing still, but a lot of companies still don't see the use of a backup solution for their data. So there is still some work to do for you as a partner to sell the protection to your customers. And another thing we see is that data, company data, not only within Office 365, are being held longer and longer. Mostly because of legal and compliance rules that are getting bigger and more demanding. But we see that, a lot of companies nowadays need to keep their data longer. So we see evolutions there also within the product with backup copies and archiving tiers and so on. So Microsoft backup for Veeam backup for Microsoft 365. It's all about protecting your data that resides within Microsoft 365. That for sure, but with all Veeam products within the backup sphere, what we see also, Veeam has a big focus also on restore. Backup is easy; you just have a copy of your data. But when a backup product, shows its real importance, it's mainly with when something happens, how quickly can you get back up and running or get your data back? And there is quite some nice things with the Veeam product. So we even have self-service restore. So if IT department isn't available and they set up the self-service part, a user can simply, within a few clicks, simply restore its own email or a file within Microsoft 365, and of course meet all legal and compliance requirements that you need for your company. A small history, like I already said, we're at version 6A to be precise. And this is a small overview. The product was launched initially in 2016 with yearly at least one update with every time some nice to have improvements. Since the end of 2021, we are version 6, and since last October, Veeam released version 6A. The major improvements we had with version 6 are self-service restore portal, which is so new with the latest version, let's say, and backup integration to object storage, the Amazon Glacier Deep Archive and Azure Archive. Let's have a look at the self-service restore portal, because it's quite an important new thing asked by many customers. IT departments all have their hands full, so it's an easy thing to set up and give users the ability to do some self-service. Just deleted the email. You don't need to bother. Therefore, the IT guys, you can simply log into the portal, select the email, and within a few clicks, it's restored. So it's a form of automatization for IT and service providers. It's time saving. You have to wait less time to get your email back or your data back that you want to restore. And for IT departments also, you don't have to have an IT degree to simply do a restore of an email or a file. It's things that every normal people should be able to do. And enhanced security, of course, with multi-factor authentication to secure the restore of the data. A nice thing of the self-service portal is that you have user roles. A simple user can only restore, of course, its own data, but we could also give access to the self-service portal for the restore admins. So if you have a restore admin, you don't need to give him access to the full product to do restores for other users, but he can also use the self-service portal to do restores of data of other users if you're a restore admin. Another new thing is we all know that data is growing, so we are looking at cheaper ways of using storage. Object storage is one of them in the cloud. And of course, we all know that we have the 3-to-1 rules, best practices within the backup environments these days. So why a backup copy? I think the best or the first reason should be to obey to the well-known 3-to-1 rule. So 3 copies of your data, 2 separate media, and 1 external to the company. So that's the main reason for me. To be able to do it in object storage in the cloud is an easy thing to set up. It's separation of your data because it's certainly another medium and it's in another location, and it saves money. It's cheap data. It's cheaper than having a second location on your own and provide there the necessary storage to make your copies. So low cost, like I said, we support with version 6 Amazon S3 Glacier Deep Archive and Azure Archive. So it's even cheaper object storage. Of course, it costs you more to restore, but it's more a storage we will use as archiving and retention for some legal and compliance rules. It's not the data we think we have to restore from, or we hope that we don't have to restore from. So just to give you an overview how the architecture or how it works, let's say on the left hand side we have of course Veeam backup for Microsoft 365, and what can we protect, what can we backup? Above it we see our Microsoft 365 subscription. So within that we can make backups of course all the Exchange online, the mail stuff and so on, the SharePoint online, the OneDrive for Business, and Microsoft Team, of course. But like I already said, we can use it hybrid. We can also backup on-premise stuff. So if you still have an Exchange or a SharePoint, we can backup those two with Veeam backup for Microsoft 365 without the need of Veeam backup for Veeam backup application, the regular product. Where do we store the backups? The first thing we had is local storage on-premise. We simply use some NAS or a SAN within our data center. On-premise, we could already use also S3 compatible storage on our own. Or we could already backup and use a backup repository in the cloud based on Amazon S3 storage, Azure Blob, S3 compatible, and IBM Cloud object storage. Now with the backup copy functionalities, we can for long-term retention or archiving, we can make a backup copy to Amazon S3 Glacier, Deep Archive, and Azure Archive. Of course, if it's necessary, we can do restores, restores from the on-premise data or even from the backup copy we have in an archive tier. And recover. The next slide will show you the 45 possibilities we have, but we have our data portability. So we can simply restore from back to our Microsoft 365 subscription, but we can also do a restore to our on-prem environment or from on-prem to Microsoft 365. And we have also quite a few options to simply export the data, be it in a file, whatever PDF. You have a lot of choices there too. So you don't have to read it all, but the slides will be provided afterwards. But in total, we have some 45 possibilities to get your data back or out of the system again. That's for version 6, what I wanted to tell you. Of course, there are quite a few other features within the product also, but we are at this moment a bit on a in between moment for Veeam. And it's also a little bit difficult with Veeam because Veeam is a company which is not on the stock markets, so they don't have a quarterly pressure and so on. So Veeam saying is always it's ready when it's ready, and we will release it when it's ready. There are quite a few updates coming within Veeam, and also for Veeam backup and Veeam backup for Microsoft 365. We are long waiting for version 7. So just a small peek at what version 7 will bring or can bring to you. A nice thing about object storage is immutability. The right ones read many possibilities. So that's coming in version 7, where we will be able to make a backup copy to object storage in the cloud or local if it's supported, and make it immutable so that your legal and compliance rules that it didn't change the backup data, and also a protection against encryption from ransomware and so on. What we also will see, and which is new, is a integration with Veeam 1. Veeam 1, part of another core product of Veeam. There also, the integration will only happen when for Veeam 1 version 12 will be available, which is also, yeah, long awaited, let's say, and what we expect early next year. So with Veeam Backup Replication version 12, Veeam 1 version 12, we'll see complete integration with Veeam 1. A deeper integration with the Veeam Service Provider console. So for the partners who are providing hosted and rental services or MSP services to their customers, there will be a very complete integration now with Veeam Service Provider consoles, from managing, monitoring backup jobs and so on. And of course, self-service restore portal enhancements. So immutable backup copies already talked about it. So make sure that once it's written to the object storage, you can't change the data anymore. So you're sure that data is what you wrote the first time, and ransomware can't change it anymore, or anyone can change it for the period you set. Veeam 1, it's a lesser known and used product, but the people who use it mostly are very satisfied with it. It's a monitoring tool that Veeam has, and where you can monitor your virtual environments, you can monitor your Veeam backup and replication environments. And now with the next version, which is arriving, let's say, early next year, with version 12, we will be able to integrate also Veeam backup for Microsoft 365 in the monitoring environment and the reporting environment and so on. So we'll get a complete visibility of our backup environments with Veeam. A nice thing is also, I won't go into detail of everything, but we will have better and more detailed reporting than simply the reports we have now about the backup jobs. And also, as it is a monitoring tool, and people will simply, who use it already, will know that from with the Veeam backup and replication. We have alerting within it, but also notifications. And the nice thing is, yeah, it's notification alerting about a product from Veeam. So if there is something happening, you will get an alert or a notification. But Veeam, if it's really a problem, will always try to give you a solution also. They know the product, Veeam Backup for Microsoft 365. So within the alert or the notification, you will, if it's possible and if it's available, get links to a knowledge base article on how to solve what just happened, so which is also a nice thing. Deeper integration with the Veeam Service Provider console. We have also within the Veeam Service Provider console some self-service, so your customer, your end user, can also log into a console from the Veeam Service Provider console, and there see some things or do some things. So there also we'll see that it's possible for a tenant to register its own orgs. So an easier onboarding for you, automation, you could say. Monitoring will be enhanced with version 7 of the Veeam Service Provider console, so which is expected also early next year. There will be new RESTful APIs for endpoints workloads if you use Veeam agents to do the backups. And yeah, not everyone will use it, but you can also use the Veeam Service Provider console for billing. And now that Microsoft 360 Veeam for Microsoft 365 is within the solution, you will also be able to build the Microsoft 365 solution within the service provider console. Service providers, of course, can easier offer protection, remote protection for the end users or your customers for Microsoft 365. A better monitoring of the backup jobs through the service provider console, and so generate also reports about SLA for objects that he has to protect, build clients, and of course the enhanced APIs and monitoring and management of the different workloads from within the service provider console without the need to go to the Veeam backup for Microsoft 365 console. Self-service restore portal enhancements. Now a user will be able to restore its own Microsoft Teams content. And another interesting thing is that he will now be able to choose his own restore point. So if there are multiple versions of the, let's say, the mail he has in the backup, he will be able to select his own restore point from which one he wants to restore a certain mail or a certain file and so on. Some additional info you can use to learn more about the products is the best practice guides for the products of Veeam. I mentioned two, there are a few more. There is also one for Veeam backup application. Here you will find more the design best practices, performance best practices. It's online, regularly updated by Veeam, and you have one for Veeam backup for Microsoft 365, and also the below one, the SP one, is the one for service providers, which talks about multiple products and also the service provider console, but also there is a part, Module 5 is just about integration service provider console and delivering service with Veeam backup for Microsoft 365. Already told, we are expecting a lot of updates. So there is, for you as a partner, this is a special section on the Pro Partner, Veeam Pro Partner portal, which is the Launch Resource Center. So please check him regularly, because within the next month we're expecting quite a few updates. Veeam backup application, the main product version 12 is coming. Veeam Service Provider Console version 7, Veeam 1 version 12, which go together, and then of course Disaster Recovery Orchestrator V6 is also expected, and the product we're talking about today, Veeam backup for Microsoft 365, is expected to be updated also to version 7. It contains also, the Launch Center also contains links to just released or recently released products like the Veeam backup for Salesforce and so on. So please check it and use that info. Of course, you can expect some other webinars from SYNNEX from us in the coming months as soon as products are released. It's late, it's late, but I still want to mention them. We still have, let's say, 2 weeks, but there are still 2 promotions from Veeam running at this moment. So if you're reselling the product, there's still a possibility to get a discount for the end user of 15% off the list price. And also you as a partner get an extra margin of 5% from Veeam. If you sell Veeam backup application to non-existing customers. So it must be a new customer to Veeam, new for Veeam backup for Microsoft 365. So the customer can already have Veeam backup application, for instance, or some Veeam agents, no problem there. Just the user or the end user cannot have had the product Veeam backup for Microsoft 365. So still 2 weeks to gain extra margin and to buy cheaper for your end users or sell it cheaper. And other thing is for Veeam service providers, if you didn't report or didn't use Veeam Backup for Microsoft 365 until now, please register before the end of the year, and you will get 3 months free Veeam Backup for Microsoft 365. So how it works is that you have every month to report your consumption within the hosting, the rental program, and Veeam will simply, let's say, you register just before the end of the year. In January, February, and March, Veeam will simply say that everything you report for being backed up with Veeam Backup for Microsoft 365 will simply count as 0 points. So if you don't have the solution within your rental offering, please consider it and register for the promotion, and then the next 3 months, everything you will report as a Veeam Backup for Microsoft 365 usage will be counted as 0 points. Of course, you can't have been using Veeam Backup for Microsoft 365. There are some terms and conditions. One I want to mention, if you're on a no commit plan with Veeam, this offer is not for you. You need to have a commit of at least, I think, 200 points. But check it. It's also on the Pro Partner portal. But yeah, do it urgently because you have to do it before the end of the year. How to contact us? We just changed names from TechData to SYNNEX, so our email has been slightly changed also, as we use a .com domain now. The email address has been changed itself to point to Belgium, so it's tdas_software.be@tdsynnex.com. Our phone number didn't change. And before I close off, there are 2 other things I still want to mention. It has nothing to do with the product itself, but keep in mind that at the end of the year, there is another big change coming to Veeam, and that will be that it's the end of perpetual socket licenses. So if you're selling Veeam Backup and Replication and use socket licenses, you can't do it anymore since July for Veeam Backup Essentials. But now, as of the 1st of January, there will be no more perpetual socket licenses sold or upgrades possible. Keep that in mind. Also, you will have to migrate to Veeam. And fresh info is also Veeam is as of the 1st of January, making some price changes in both reselling and both the rental business, but communication will follow. But we just also got a notification from Veeam that there will be a price update, price increase on everything almost of Veeam products and in both reselling and rental products. That's it for me. I'll hand over to Bart for Proofpoint, and I'll have a look at the chat if there are any questions, and otherwise still feel free to use the chat for questions or and so on, and I'll see at the end of the his presentation then. Bart, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Jerry. Okay, let me share my screen. All right, can you see it?
Yes, thank you.
Great. Okay, so my name is Bart van Molsel, and I work as a solutions design specialist for SYNNEX in the security team, and my role is designing solutions for relevant security topics, just as ransomware and cloud security, and we do it all to support our ecosystem, as you know. Today we're going to be talking about Proofpoint Essentials and protecting M365, so Microsoft 365, And by the end of my presentation, you will be ready to explain to your customers, why do you need to protect email? Why do you need to have Proofpoint Essentials with that? And you understand what is the added value of Proofpoint Essentials on top of Microsoft 365. And I think it's very complementary, in line with the Veeam presentation that Jerry just explained. Yeah, well, I think there is something extra that you can bring to your customers, and I also really believe that it is really needed on top of that. So, but that's the conclusion I hope you also have at the end of this presentation with me. To take you through this story, I want to take a few angles for that. Well, security landscape, it starts with some challenges that the cloud brings. And the first trap that Jerry also mentioned is about the shared responsibility model. Many people believe that Microsoft will handle everything for you, and that is simply not true. They will handle their own infrastructure, and everything that you put in the cloud, like your data, your passwords, your identities, your configuration, everything that is your own responsibility. And Gartner already predicted that 95% of all cloud security problems are caused by wrong configuration. So there's a challenge on that. And also there is another trend, because nobody uses only Microsoft 365. Everybody still has something on-premise, something in the public cloud, something in the private cloud. They have a bit of Azure, a bit of AWS, lots of SaaS services like Workforce. Well, you mentioned it. So and how from the security perspective, if you want to make one change in your security policy, are you going to go to all these different sites and make the changes appropriate there, if you are able to find them? Or do you want one central system to control everything and monitor everything? You want to know that your data is safe from everywhere and not only in one specific place. So that is the challenge I would like to give to you to reconsider. If somebody says, well, I just rely on one specific vendor on that, I think you really need security specialist solutions on that. So that's about the cloud. There's something else that's more related to the SMB market. Lots of SMB says, well, I don't have a security problem. That's more a thing that happens to the enterprises. I have nothing to lose. I'm not worth that much. That's not true. There was a global research report by Verizon conducted over last year, and it reports that 28% of all data breaches are in SMB. And also another report in the Dutch market, it came out that 90% of the SMB, they had to deal with some sort of cybersecurity incident in the past years. And the strange fact in that is that the real small SMB, so from 1 to 9 employees, they said that only 8% had a problem. And while the companies were a bit bigger, between 100 and 250 users, they report 40% of the problems. And I really think that's related to the visibility that they have on that. And well, if you cannot detect a problem, then you might think you don't have a problem. A bigger concern even is that 54 of all the attempts to intrude an SMB company are successful. So over half of that. And in the enterprise, that number is 8 times lower. So you can conclude that the security of SMB can and needs to be improved. And another thing that I would like to bring to you is that the SMB company, they really leaning on their SMPs to the MSPs. Sorry, that so you as a partner, they need your expertise to help them with these kind of challenges. And yeah, it's not easy. I do admit. It's a very high competitive market that we are in today, and there was a lot of expertise asked. But sorry, I want to stress that we as TD SYNNEX, we are here to support you. And so if you want to set up new services, you need new training, you need whatever, and need some hands maybe. We are there. And just reach out to us, and we'll get you some help. Now, to dig a bit deeper in the security landscape, I see 5 topics that are of concern. And well, today is a bit too short to go in depth through all of them. You see that the subjects are very interconnected to each other. We already covered data, for example. We also see that identity is a very important topic if you consider zero trust network of the architectures. But let's have a look at the email. And email is the most attacked surface. So over 90% of all cybersecurity incidents come in through email. So that is a good reason why you should pay a lot of attention to email. And when we come to solutions, then well, again, overseeing all these blocks, the automation where the automation level that we see over all the companies is going bigger and bigger. And it's like the domino system. So you put up all these domino blocks, and if one starts falling, you see that the problem will go through all the company, and so the dependence on IT and automation is also that big. But so coming to solutions, you need to really consider how strong is the chain of all the layers that you put around it. Okay, so now email. I think that there was a lot not new around email, because email is existing quite a while now, and we see. I'll tell you already that email is the main source of the email of the cybersecurity incidents that are coming in the companies. And if you further want to categorize what kind of problems these are, then let's start with the biggest one. That's spam. That's still the highest in volume, and it exists already for 20 years. So everybody will know. The spam is the unsolicited emails, so the emails that where they try to sell you something that you didn't ask for, and it's simply the impact of it. It costs you some money to buy a system to manage that, and some time, and the time component is also very critical. It costs simply a lot of money to go over these what's catched in the quarantine, if there are false positives, or to put something out if it's not catched. And if you look at the market, the result rates of that are quite different. So some tools are better to catch spam than others. Then the other one is around malware. You see that in numbers, malware is 20%, but in money impact, it's far bigger problem, so to say, than with spam. Because if you come infected, and like number one malware now is ransomware. That will just bring down everything in the company, and then you need to have a clean backup to restore. So if you have that, then yeah, you really need to have that covered to keep you into business. And the last one, and that's an interesting one, that's around phishing. And phishing is a bit a combination of some stuff, because it maybe looks like spam. It's like just an email, but the main difference is that it seems to be coming from some trusted party, and it tries to seduce you to do something. And it is not about selling you something like in spam, but it's trying to make you click on a link and or open an attachment, things like that. And by doing that, the problem occurs. By clicking that link or opening the attachment, you can get infected, and the other problem that might arise is that they will ask you for entering your credentials, so your username and your password. So there's also the interconnectedness, and I try to see the other side, so that the criminals that try to catch these, and some people think that it's really hackers that the stealing data is some sort of nifty programming done, but if they just ask you to give your username and password and you do that, yeah, that's a real problem. You understand that. I can give you some more numbers, but on exactly what's ahead. So there is some research done that SMB organizations receive every month, on average, 129 email attacks, of which 57 are phishing, so close to half, and 73 contain malware. And 2 of those contain zero-day attacks. So, and zero-day attack, that's something where your standard protection does not help you on. So you need to have something on top of that to examine these kind of malware. And the big thing is something to consider to go through with your end user is to make some to have some discussions on what is the cost of this many. If you take 129 attacks every month, on average, it will take the IT department 10 minutes to have a look at that. And if you say, well, an IT guy costs me, let's say, 50 euros an hour, then you can make the calculation what it will cost you that year. So I think security also comes with finding a good balance in cost and impact. So you want to find that balance in there. Okay, another interesting topic is about humans. There are 2 sides of this, and well, also in Zero Trust you see that identity is central, and in the right hand side you see where interaction is required. 99% of the cases of incidents, there is interaction required. If you receive an email, then you really need to open the attachment. So there is a human doing that or clicking that link. And so that's a very important thing. So that is why you see that now security awareness programs are really lifting up. They have to teach people how to recognize these kind of situations and what to do with it. The other thing is that you see that the people are targeted. So in the past, it was more like the infrastructure. A company is somebody's trying to get through your firewall, but now you see people are targeted. And what does that mean? You really need to understand what is happening to your people. So some departments are more IT aware. Your IT, the IT guys in the company, they probably understand it better than somebody maybe at let's just pick someone financial administration. Well, they have a different mindset, and they might they might get more attacks, because for the criminals, they are the interesting ones, because they own the money, and maybe they are more easy to seduce them to click that link. So you need to know what's coming in. So what is you need to profile your employees, and that is something that the end user organization, the CISOs in that organization are thinking about. How can I get that information? Okay, so just digging deeper in phishing. I have copied some examples in here, and one thing that I want to share on these ones, that the higher if I recognize that this is really coming from Microsoft, then but also when it starts with Dear Bart, if it's personalized, it's the higher the chances are that I will fall from that. So that's something that the hackers already have learned. So they're kind of improving on that part too. And one thing that you can do is is applying the standard protocol things like DMARC, DKIM, and SPIF. And but that's not enough. So if you go even one step further, that's what we call CEO fraud or business email compromise. That's very closely together. That is something where you would receive an email that you think comes from inside of your company, most likely some CEO, and they will ask you to do things that may raise some eyebrows, but you bet lots of people will still do that because it's the boss that asks you to do that. And this kind of attack, I'll show you an example in a minute, that caused a damage in the US in the past year for $2 billion of US dollars. So that's a real big problem. So if I show you just one example, a few months ago, a company in Rotterdam, Jevo Metaal, they are a part of a holding in a global consortium of recycling of stainless steels. And at one day, an employee of the finance administration, they received a phone call of somebody who pretended to be the CEO of the German parent companies. And he commanded her to transfer to that 6 million euros to a Hong Kong company for a secret acquisition. She hesitated, but after receiving a confirming email from her manager, she did that. And after that, they repeated this for 10 times. So in total, 11.4 million euros was handed over to. What happens after that is that it was a criminal who just asked for that and got that money. And why I'm telling that is because you will need also to have some protection against that, and that is imposter scores that Proofpoint will provide to you. And well, I noticed that a lot of companies are still thinking, who is Proofpoint? And Proofpoint is the leading email security provider globally. And over 60% of the Fortune 100 companies are using that. So the 100 biggest companies in the world is a Fortune 100. So it's a really known thing. And what Proofpoint did is that they have ported all the good things from that enterprise product into an SMB product. And that's I will speed up a bit, conscious of time. They've put that in the Proofpoint Essential stuff. And Proofpoint Essentials is a cloud-native product, and so all the good things from the enterprise engines are in there. But it's a cloud. It's a portal, so you don't need to set up a thing or maintain it. You just need to create an account and make the emails routed through this portal, and so it's very easy to set up, low maintenance, as one simple interface, and again the best security protection from Proofpoint is in there. You also see that it's very competitively priced, and I will not cover that today, but my colleagues will, I'm sure they can share these prices with you. I think we need to rush up a bit. Just touching a few points, if I still may. But you see here the main security components in the Proofpoint Cloud. And that is the advanced protection. So I mentioned that you need that extra layer for those zero-day attacks, and that is a sandbox option. So where with those attacks are examined in an isolated environment, and after that you can safely use all the emails that come in are examined in the best way. There's also information protection, and that is a way to set, well, it's policy based, so there's a very smart way to find all the data that you want to protect. So, for example, financial information, if you want to filter out that somebody is sharing some company results, you can create very simple rules for that. Also for privacy related matters, and you can then create a simple policy with it, for example, to encrypt all these emails. Another thing is about continuity in archiving. Email continuity, what does it mean is that if your Microsoft environment is for some reason temporarily not available, then automatically it will switch to the emergency inbox, as it's called, and then you have a kind of a webmail interface where you can just access your emails, answer it, and when the mail environment comes available again, it will flip back, and all the emails are delivered as you would expect. An email archiving, that is for the I always explain that there are some professions where like an advocate who needs to store emails for a longer time. So the email archiving options, that brings that to you. You can store emails up to 10 years. Okay. Security awareness, that is so where you can teach your employees, and I would say especially pay attention on the phishing side. That's a big threat, but also a lot of other training modules are available in that, and also you are able to simulate phishing with that, and it's using real phishing examples. And I will be happy to show that more to you if you want to. Let me skip this one. So I think I already mentioned that Proofpoint Essentials is really bringing some real good features on top of what's existing in Microsoft 365. I think if we really put that head to head, I would say, well, Microsoft 365, it's convenience because there's a lot of functionality included. But if you really want to have a good protection, and I mentioned several examples, if you want to have the imposter score to protect you from that CEO fraud, if you want to have like a good URL protection that not only scans the first time that the email comes in, but it scans every time that a user clicks on that URL. And I can bring on some other examples as well. Then you need not E3 or E5, you need E7. E7, that is what Proofpoint is aiming for. And also what we see is that on average, customers simply switch from Microsoft 365 to a specialist solution. And if you are not convinced, well, Proofpoint offers a free rapid risk assessment. So it costs to you nothing, like 5 minutes of configuration. And Proofpoint does then the examination of 14 days of all the emails that have come into your Microsoft 365 environment, and they will do an analysis and show you what kind of extras that is found on the Proofpoint site. So then you will see really the difference, what you have missed on that time. So next steps I would like to do is plan a demo. And by the end of a demo, I will challenge you to create your own account, so you see how easy that it is. And not to forget that you will get 50 users for free as a partner to use on your own domain. So there are no restrictions on that. The first 50 users are free. You can use all the functionality, and you see how easy that is. And then afterwards, you can you are able to explain all the details to your customers and make them as happy as can be. By saying that, I just gone over time a bit. Here's where we are. If you want to reach out to my colleagues Peter or Tamara, then and myself, here are our contact details. And I would like to thank you for your attention. And if you have any questions, then please shoot.
All right. I don't see any questions coming in so far. Thanks Bart and Thierry for the great presentation. Thanks to all our partners for joining us today at our Partner Academy. We're already looking forward to welcome you again at our Partner Academies of next year, of course. If you would have any topic suggestions, then feel free to reach out. Don't worry if you missed something. We're going to send the presentation as soon as possible towards everybody that joined the webinar, of course. That's it. Let's close off with Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody.
Thanks for having us. Thanks.
Thank you.